Hey listeners, I want to do something a little bit different for this episode. A lot of people have asked me on social media and just when I've run into people in my personal life, hey, how's the book going? And by the way, those of you who have asked about the book, I really appreciate it. It is a vote of confidence. It is such an encouragement, and I really appreciate the accountability and the interest people who have asked me about the book. And so, just to recap for those who don't know about this, I started writing a book last year, and it's the thing that kind of set me off on this whole direction of side hustle and motivation and encouragement. I've unlocked this kind of new world of creativity and exploration and things that I never thought I would be able to do. And the book was kind of the catalyst for it. So I am still working on the book. It's a little bit slow going, but I've basically completed the entire first draft. And now I'm going through the process of kind of reading through it, editing. When I say a first draft, it's all written, but it's almost like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle scattered on a table. Like if you look, you can see sections that are put together, and there's some pieces over here that seem like they fit, but it's a whole process of kind of putting this all together. It's been a lot of fun. I'm learning so much in the process, but I want to read just a sample of the book and kind of give you a taste of kind of what it is that we're going for with this book. I'm eventually going to ask for beta readers and for editors or contacts. So if you have that information, if you're an author or a writer, send it my way. But I want to read just a little bit of the book to let people know kind of what it's about. So this is from the very beginning, the first pages of the novel. So here it is. As I sped over the bridge one brisk winter morning, the sun barely peeking over the crest of a hill in front of me, the familiar sound of rushing water found its way to my ears. I looked to the left and noticed the dam off in the distance, framed on either side by mountains blanketed in a fresh snowfall. The river snaked its way toward me, its calm surface an inverted painting of silver sky and charcoal gray clouds above. A million memories surrounded me, rushing with such overwhelming speed that they nearly took my breath away. Time and tide have altered so much of the landscape here at this place, and yet so much of it remains the same, as it perhaps has for centuries. At 41 now, in my mind's eye, I was transported to a distant season of life, a much younger time when I began to set out, to chart my own path. This stretch of river was the backdrop for what was even now one of the most formative periods of my life. In the early 2000s, my friends and I found ourselves in this place between two mountainous seasons of life. No longer boys and not yet fully men, we experienced a kind of freedom in that moment that is unrivaled by anything I've ever known before or since. Descending down and finally completely off of the mountain of our childhood and adolescent dependence upon our parents, we stared straight ahead at the looming, treacherous mountain of adulthood and its manifold responsibilities, stresses, and challenges. Beyond ready to be out from under the rule and authority of our fathers, we were not quite prepared to embrace the challenge and burden of becoming men. For a couple of years, a heartbeat really, a blip, a flash of light, we found ourselves standing in the thin valley where those mountains intersected, completely free and yet still somehow protected from the most dangerous storms life could offer. In the silver serpentine ribbon river of time that ran between those mountains, I felt fully alive, fully free. For the first and perhaps the only time, I lived my life without a care in the world. It was a season of transition, of changing, of leaving behind who you once were and becoming who you one day will be. All these years later, as I reflect on that time in my life, I realize that it was shaped and defined most notably by the relationships I formed during the countless hours my friends and I spent knee-deep in the cold, flowing water of the upper James River, surrounded on all sides by nature, with the sun warm on our backs, catching smallmouth bass in a seemingly endless supply. So that's the introduction. I hope you like it. I am really looking forward to telling this story. It's a work of fiction, but it's based on real events and a real place, one of the most beautiful places in the world. And I'm really looking forward to sharing this story with you. I'll continue to provide more updates as we go, but I would love to hear your feedback. If you like what you heard, if this type of episode is appealing to you, I will gladly share more. But I wanted to put it out there and see what people think. So let me know. You can respond to the podcast episode. You can send me a message on Instagram. It's Yet Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. So how did I go from zero to a completely finished draft of my book in just a few months? Well, I did it the way that most people accomplish their goals. I had a vision of where I wanted to go, and I rolled up my sleeves and started working. But as I look back at my process, I realized I actually followed a pretty simple 5-step formula to accomplish my goal. And since I've kind of made that realization, I've used that same framework with many other goals in my life, and I've seen amazing success. So I want to share with you the process, 5 steps to supercharge your goal. I think it translates well across any goal, any idea. I would love to share it with you for absolutely free. So I'll give you a free download. Go to my Instagram. It's Yet Podcast. Click the link in my bio and you should see 5 steps to supercharge your goals. I would love to share this with you, and I hope you have as much success with it as I have. Thanks.